Hello, everyone. Jose J. Garcia with Mobile Home University here. Special guest for today. She is an international speaker, a business coach, communication specialist, and serial entrepreneur. Melissa Glossup, how are you doing?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much, Jose, for having me today.
So positive and happy all the time. It goes around the room. So thank you for that. So Melissa, for those out there that don't know you, tell us about you.
Goodness. My former life, I was in education. I got pigeonholed like many people do. You think you're doing all the right things in life, and I became very dissatisfied very quickly. I wasn't reaching my potential. So I literally became an entrepreneur because I didn't want any restrictions to be set on my life, and I wanted to be the one who determined what I could achieve. And what's beautiful about that is we don't know what our limits are until we give it a try. I keep pushing, I keep growing. I'm 41 years old in February, and I tease that I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up because there's so many beautiful choices in life to select from.
Well, we're always learning, we're always educating, that never stops, and that is true. I mean, when you think of school, basically once you get out of high school, so you're done. But when you get in this business, you realize you are always, and there's always somebody new, somebody out there that teaches you that one more thing, just spark of something. So it's definitely, um, you've been very successful in your field, but what really got you started beside having, I mean, was that a tired, I got to do better, I want more for myself?
Honestly, I got married in 2012, and he was previously in the Israeli Defense Forces. He was a paratrooper,
Okay.
and he's an idealist. He always thinks of, wouldn't it be great if we could solve this or solve that? And he struggled very much with the concept of fatigue or sleep or not getting enough rest. And he's like, Mel, wouldn't it be amazing if there was a bracelet that could tell you when you were about to fall asleep? And we thought that was interesting. And my background as a technical writer and a literary professor, I started doing research. I was like, would it be possible? And we actually found one very small algorithm buried deep in the cardiologist's library that talked about how heart rate is the first indicator of the onset of sleep. What's beautiful about innovation is the entire sleep industry looks at brain waves, and we found this nugget of truth.
Mhm.
So we spoke with an intellectual property lawyer. It was going to be a ridiculous amount of money to file, and I said, I'm a technical writer, let me do that myself. So I hit the books, I read over 2,000 patents, and I decided, you know what, let me try it. And we got our patent completely through the process. I did the research. People think it's extremely expensive the first time to file. Well, there's a thing called micro entity. So if you're less than $250,000 annually, you can actually file a patent for less than $400. So I did two complete patents. Both of them got granted immediately. So just being innovative, being resourceful,
Yeah.
going after it, and finding your own path. That's what it takes. I created that fire in the belly, and I started chasing it. And the marathon's not over.
Spoken like a true serial entrepreneur for sure. Yes, ma'am. So, I went from COVID into COVID a little bit. I went from highly to slacking that, we don't know where it's headed, what's all the unknown, I guess. But when it first started, it was definitely that fear, that worrisome, and, very much the slack to where, I found a positive in areas like this. I would not otherwise connect with you and a lot of very nice people that I got on my podcast and channels, had it not been for COVID. So there's a positive, it seems to be with every, you know, anything that happens in life, really. How do you program your mind to find those positive opportunities through the hard times, tough times?
So my entire life, sometimes I think that we're hardwired, but you create an emotional immune system and you get better at it. Some are better naturally than others. My friends used to tease me. They say, you have Disney dreams. So everything that I did, whether I was asleep or awake, everything had those rose colored glasses around it. However, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that your product, your service, what you're putting out in the world is the best product service for the person that you're going to serve, your client, your customer. So if you approach your conversations that way, then you will be received that way, and you're not going to close everyone. But I think of my life as I want to bring people along with me. Those that don't want to come along with me, they're going to make it very evident at the very beginning, and they'll fall to the wayside. But if you build relationships, build teams, it's about the lifetime value, the long term rather than the immediate. Too many people worry about the here and now, but when I make relationships or create introductions or begin relationships, I look at the long term. Maybe I can't do something with you right this moment, but there's so much opportunity, and I don't know, 6 months from now, a year from now, who I'm going to meet that might be of value to that other person. So you just have to, I constantly look for opportunity.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. And you have to. You have to have that. So how do you take defeat and failure, and how important is it?
It's extremely important, but I don't look at it as failure or a defeat. I look at it as the learning process, and I'm not going to do that again. If you don't hit bumps in the road, then you don't build better processes, better procedures, better foundations for your business to create something even greater or better. So very early in my entrepreneurial journey, we're not just doing software, we developed our own wearable, we're doing hardware.
Okay.
So to go from being an English professor to developing a wearable with nanotechnology, algorithms, finding the right team, bringing those people along, we hit a few bumps in the road. We hit people that saw my lack of knowledge in the industry, and they wanted to take advantage of that. But you become savvier, you become stronger, you learn what questions to ask, and the more conversations you have, the more rapidly available it is to know if someone else is pulling your chain or not. So you get those street smarts very quickly when you hit those bumps in the road.
You have to learn. There you go. Keep on learning. Absolutely. So there's always a plus and negative. Not every day is a sunshine and rainbows. I mean, we'd like to think so or hope so, but what is your motivation that keeps you going?
The motivation that keeps me going is, again, that belief that my product is the best thing and it deserves to be on the market and it deserves to serve the populations, the industry, allowing, our belief for cost technology is that every employee deserves the right to have a safe and healthy work environment. And by giving access to biometrics and certain risk factors that have not previously been available to different industries, while protecting the authenticity and the anonymous nature of the individual. We're an alert device, we're not a diagnostic device, but when I think of it, if I was in a situation that could put my life or someone else's life in danger, I would want to know if I was having a health incident that would create greater risk. And I think that every employee deserves the right to go home at night. So every no I get, that's just the fire to push me go a little bit harder. I just haven't had enough conversations yet, or reach out, for that next introduction or that next call. You never know who you're going to meet that will know the right person that will take your business or your life to that next level. So again, it's the fundamental belief that I'm really going to make an impact. And then the one step back that really touches my heart, and the reason that I'm so passionate about what I do is when people believe in you, you want to honor that faith. And one of our industries that we're interested in impacting is the transportation industry, specifically long haul truck driving. And so if we could mitigate risk on the road for those individuals, make sure that they arrive healthily and safely back home to their families, that would be powerful. My grandmother was a depression baby, and so she grew up, in Oklahoma picking cotton. My grandmother was a sharecropper, and when I told her about this idea, my grandmother had penny pinched and saved her entire life. She was very calculated. For your birthday, she would give you $22 so she could cover the tax on the gift that you got.
Okay.
So when she found out about what I was doing, she goes, well, I don't understand the technology. She goes, but my baby sister lost her husband in a trucking accident. He drove off a mountain in California.
Wow.
She goes, so if you could bring one more husband home, she goes, then I want you to be able to take that next step. And she invested $30,000 into my company at early stages,
Wow.
which I didn't anticipate. I didn't ask her for a dime, and she pledged it because she knew the good that it could do for humanity.
Absolutely. I actually have a logistics. I was part of logistics for about 12 years. 12 years. I ended up making it to third level logistics, so I do understand trucking companies and that sort of thing. That's kind of interesting. You mentioned that, but to add to that, it's also that guidance that I think we all need, which we get from coaches. I've never heard anybody be successful without one, or even close to one. What do you think is the best advice a coach or mentor ever gave you?
The best advice a coach or mentor ever gave me is that I needed to stop hiding behind my team and get out in the front and lead. You are the best person to sell your vision, your company, your product, and you have to be the loudest spokesperson. So once I dropped that fear, I have amazing people that surround me, surround my company. I'm very honored and blessed to work with the executives and the individuals that have aligned with us. But it's true, I had to be the one that stepped out of my comfort zone. I couldn't think of myself as the English teacher, the professor. I had to leave that persona behind. I really had to step into the fullness of self as CEO, because if you don't define yourself, everyone else will put that label on you. And the people that put a label on you, those are the people that are too afraid to step out of their comfort zones and do something worthwhile and with purpose.
Yes, ma'am, for sure. Melissa, you share stages with some very wealthy, successful people. What is it like to surround yourself around such success?
I think that if you're not in the room with people that are more successful to you, then you're in the wrong room.
Mhm.
You should always aspire to be around people that have that fire, have that vision, have that purpose, because you become better.
Mhm.
And to get to the next level, you have to shed that skin. It's almost, entrepreneurs have to shed that skin and come into the fullness of the next level. And when it's time to level up, you have to forget that level, shed that layer, and go up again. So the more rooms that you can get into, the more stages, the more conversations, the more podcasts that you can put yourself on with
Yeah.
people that are very successful. Not only do you learn from that process, but you create the relationships
Mhm.
that will ultimately impact how successful you can become.
Absolutely, you have to. I heard it this way. If you walk into a room and you're the most successful individual, you need to leave, because you absolutely, there's no growth there. Nothing against, but I mean, if it ain't growing you, then it can only go one other way. So we've all had to pivot, when it comes to business and everything, especially through this whole, you know, COVID thing going on. But what is some things this businesses should be doing to try to avoid failure? We don't know what 21 has in store.
All businesses need to look for complementary products and services to go along with what they're currently offering. That gives you the ability to build additional revenue streams. Business owners need to look for relationships and adjacent business owners that can complement your business. So not necessarily that you're selling that product or service, but you can create alliances and strategic partnerships to help each other grow. Two databases are better than one. So when you can share among a one or two businesses or a group of businesses, one of my favorite examples of this, if you're a wedding planner, you can create a relationship with multiple florists, multiple venues. You have a network to be able to provide business to one another. And then reciprocity is huge, because then they will refer people back to you. It's really that relationship that matters. And if people offer value first,
Mhm.
instead of coming and say, hey, will you sell my product service? If you approach that business owner and say, hey, I love what you do. You have a great product or service. I would love to know if I could refer my clientele to you. And that way, they could benefit from XYZ that you're offering. Would that be okay? That's a much different conversation, and people will receive it with open arms. And I think that now more than ever in COVID, not only are certain areas, societies, cities, are they separated from one another, but this is a way to start bringing back that community. And I think if you have a community of achievers, you're going to get so much further than trying to go it alone.
Absolutely. Connect and network. Your network has to be huge. That is something I actually struggled when I first started. I'm an introvert, as you would imagine, and it was I got it. I'll do it. And it might work for a little while, but really quickly you realize it's not going to work. You have to get out there and connect, make that network happen. So take away COVID. No COVID exists. Why do so many businesses fail?
So many businesses fail from the number one reason that you just said. They try to
Exactly.
do everything themselves. If you're doing it all, there's no scalability, because if we take you out of the business, your business fails. Number two, they don't have a coach. If you don't have a coach is the best way to shorten the distance from A to point B. They've been there, they've seen it, they've done it, they have an objective view, they're not in love with your business. Sometimes business owners just need to get out of their own way to be able to achieve the success that they're looking to find. The third thing that businesses don't do is they don't have policies or processes in line, so they don't know how to handle when something big pops up. They don't have the foresight, or they don't have the ability to say, hey, this is the way it's done, we do it this way. I've consulted over 450 companies in my career. And that is the number one thing. People are too busy. There's so many software platforms out there that you can really use to automate the business practice of your business. And I work with $1 million organizations that still use Excel. And things can fall through the cracks. You misbilled this. I have one client, he hadn't billed in 6 months and he wasn't sure what had even been done. How do you give a legitimate invoice to someone if you're not really sure what's going on in a project? It reduces your visibility to profitability realization. It reduces your ability to know how much cost was on a project. And at the end of the day, money's just going out the door that you can't put your hands on.
Yeah, definitely not having all your ducks in a row, I suppose, but not having a coach is a weakness for sure. JT would say, your success starts with your coach. So everybody has to have one. It doesn't take much to realize when somebody's trying to. I think it becomes a routine many times. Something that might have started as a company, a business, or it's just another job. It's just an everyday thing to them, and there's no growth there. How do you define the word success?
Success is what gives someone the completeness of being.
Mhm.
So a success, sometimes we all have those days that sometimes success is just having that first cup of coffee in the morning because it means you got out of bed. That's when someone's having a really bad day. However, you have to define success for yourself, and you need to revisit it often. You need to have parameters for success for your health. You need to have parameters of success for your family, for each business, and then you need to break it down. Success is merely a series of habits over time. If you are a successful person, it's because you've had the discipline to put the processes and the goals in place and the milestones to achieve them, and you do it on a regular basis. Someone who is not successful, they haven't put those disciplines in place, and they're a little bit all over the place. So really, success are the habits that you put together, and when you do them in a way that gets you to the level of monetary or health or family level that you want to be in, then you've achieved success.
That's very nicely put. Yes, ma'am. So, Melissa, I invest in mobile homes. Been doing it for over 6 years. I invest in a coach, mentor. I take people, ordinary, some already investors, and bring them into my niche, which hoping you will transition to us at one point as well. But one of the biggest things that I run across is, because many people, you don't really have a ready, and this well, is there's no ready. You just do it, get out there, you leap of faith, and you take action. It takes courage, sure, but you have to get out there and do it. Um, they're more than ready to get started. I'll tell them, if I knew what you knew what you know now, when I got started, I would have been ahead so much faster. So fear is what's keeping them. How do you break somebody out of their comfort zone?
They have to attack something new every day
Mhm.
and go out of their way to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. So talking to people in the grocery store, especially COVID right now, people won't even look eye to eye. So doing little things to start becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. Number one, they have to know what their end game is. If you don't know what your exit strategy or your end game is, or your goal for this year, or your goal for even the next 6 weeks,
Mhm.
if you don't have that defined, there's nothing worth fighting for. And in the realm of humanity, unless there's something larger than yourself that you want to achieve, you're not going to put the effort in to be better. So until you have clearly defined goals or metrics, you're not going to let go of fear, because we live in a state of fear because that's our comfort zone, like you mentioned.
Yeah, get comfortable, and then the surroundings don't help, of course. So absolutely, you have to have a vision and goals. Yes, ma'am. So here in Georgia, I can get mobile homes for 5,000, sometimes even less than that. Now, out where you're at, the Long Beach, California, correct?
Actually, I just relocated to Tampa, so I
Hey,
didn't mean to throw that monkey wrench at you, but yeah,
yeah,
I'm in
Tampa.
Tampa.
Oh, we're not so far apart then. Okay, great. Tampa, actually, I used to visit Lakeland, which is not too far from there. Interesting. But over in California, Malibu, and all the high areas, mobile homes go up well over a
Half a
million.
million?
Yes.
Yeah.
And these are small little properties. The numbers are crazy. But,
Mhm.
obviously there's a market for everything. Have you ever invested in real estate or mobile homes?
I have not at this point. My investments have been technology related thus far. However, we met through a mutual networking group as well, so I understand the significant upside. Actually, what was very interesting, about a couple of months ago, the first deal that I brought to the network that we're both a part of was actually a mobile home. And it was a property that would have sold for $125,000, and we were going to secure it for about 17.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal deal. However, it was determined that we should visit the property first and check it out before we put an offer in. And one of the family members of the owner put the offer in before we could take advantage of it. So we lost out on that opportunity, but that was the first deal that I even actually approached. I researched, and I brought to a group of investors. So not only is it extremely lucrative, but if you're smart with how you build it, you can build communities, which I know you do a fantastic job doing. So it's not just one property, but you can have, a block of properties or a series of units together that can create a great opportunity to create long-term wealth.
Absolutely. Well, now that I know you do have interest for the cardboard boxes and you're down in Florida in a beautiful market, keep us in mind. We will be talking after this video. So, yes, ma'am. Last question for you. What is next for Melissa?
The next firm, Melissa, is fully taking my product to market this year. We are in negotiations actually with Georgia,
Okay.
South Carolina, and Florida. We're going to do a tri-state pilot program. We're looking for additional federal grants and monies to offset some of that cost. And at that point, what's beautiful about the business model that we've built with Cost Technology is we will be cash positive very quickly. We'll be able to reinvest in our own manufacturing. And unlike most tech companies, I don't foresee us having to take a series B, C, or D. We're literally going to be able to sustain after series A and be cash flow positive after 12 months. So that's my 2021, and the
Very-
sky's the limit after that.
There you go. Very nice. Yes, ma'am. Anybody want to connect with you? Do you have a YouTube channel?
I don't have YouTube so much. I do have a Millionaire Flick Show, Industry 4.0, but I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, Melissa Glossup, and I also, of course, have Instagram, Melissa Glossup. I do have an additional podcast with another consultant friend of mine. It's called The Rise of the Serial Entrepreneur, and you can find that on Anchor.
And I will list all those you mentioned. I will go back and rewatch this video. One, to take notes because you laid a lot of stuff on here. Great stuff, a lot of nuggets, tips that we definitely need to listen to. But I will link all those to you so people can connect with you. Melissa, it has been a pleasure having you on here. Is there any last encouraging words for anybody you tuning in you want to mention?
Absolutely. Don't let fear get in the way. You don't have to be perfect to get started. You just have to start.
There you go. Well said. Well, Melissa, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.